Moving on, let's talk about a little hockey.
Ooh.
Now,
Now,
I will just come out and say this. I'm not a hockey person. We all know that, right? But I do, being in New York, I know that the Islanders won 4 in a row.
Oh, yeah?
Right before I was born in the early 80s.
Islanders 4 straight from 80 to 83 with guys like Billy Smith. You're talking about Ken Morrow. You're talking about guys like Mike Bossy. That whole crew.
I know Potvin.
Dennis Potvin, yeah, absolutely,
Potvin.
absolutely.
So who do you think, Steven, I'll kick it off with you, who do you think is the best hockey
For me,
team
it
of all
has to
time?
be the Edmonton Oilers of the 80s. The dynasty that followed the Islanders after. From 85 to 90, winning 5 Stanley Cups. They had Gretzky, they had Yari Curry, Paul Coffey, some of the greatest teams ever. And then when Gretzky left to go to the LA Kings, they still won again with their young group of kids. They just restocked. There's so many guys on that team.
So you're going Edmonton late 80s.
Edmonton late 80s, 100%.
I mean, when I hear that argument, the 4 straight titles does just look better when you're seeing it on the list of Stanley Cup winners, when you see the same name 4 times in a row. But I would like to point out, it's my understanding that the Canadians have, 35
Is it
Stanley
Canadians
Cups?
or Canadians? I need to know that.
If
Canadians
you're
or
a Canadians
Canadians?
fan, you call them the Habs.
Oh, okay.
But the Montreal.
My Habs have 35 Stanley
Your
Cups.
abs? Your abs? Have,
No, 23 Stanley Cups. The only franchise that has more in North American sports is, who we'll get to.
Oh, we'll get to that.
But yeah, 5 straight Stanley Cups from 56 to 60, 4 championships in 5 years from 65 to 69, not to mention all of the ones in between, guys like Maurice the Rocket Richard, his brother Henri, all of these guys, classic. If you're a hockey fan anytime before the year of 1970, you were probably a Canadiens fan or a Bruins fan.
Oh, wow. Let me ask you this. Out of the last 5 or 10 years, there's been only a couple teams to win multiple titles, if I'm not mistaken. The Boston Bruins, Chicago Blackhawks. Is there any team you see right now that a dynasty is emerging?
A dynasty that could possibly be emerging. One that should have emerged is the Penguins, which you can consider that a dynasty, but there were so many opportunities that were also blown. Here's the thing for me. Hockey is one of the most evenly competitive sports throughout the league.
That's
it's
true,
much
yes.
more difficult with an 83-game season and the full grind and the way that the sport is structured, especially post-lockout, to be able to build a team like that. I thought the Capitals would have had something with Ovechkin as well, but they just won last year.
And in hockey, you see routine, with somewhat regularity, 8 seeds knocking off 1 seeds and 7 seeds knocking off 2 seeds. That's why there's considerably more parity in the NHL,
Yes.
which is another barrier to creating a dynasty, which is why
It's the any given Sunday argument in football.
Yes, I think that if you compare, say, hockey to basketball, if you look at the list of NBA champions, it looks like just
Higher
going from
seeds.
dynasty to dynasty through the years. But it's way easier to do that in basketball because there's much less parity.
Basketball is more of a sport of success that's indicated and predicated on the power of individuals. If you have
Yes, that's
3
true.
superstar players, you can win your division with ease. Hockey, you got to go a little bit deeper.
It's exactly.
But at the same time, getting the hot goalie at the right time can send you all the way through to
work.
the hot goalie in hockey and the hot pitcher in baseball. Basketball is actually the only sport. I would put football second, but basketball is the only sport that pretty much the best team always wins. And part of it
I would agree.
is the 7-game series, which because I would argue in football, if there was a 7-game series, which obviously you can never do,
that.
the best team would win. But in baseball and hockey, it gets thrown
Cream
off
rises
because
to
of
the
the
top.
goalies and the pitchers.
Yeah, you get
so the
hot
best team doesn't
streaks.
always win.
Yeah, one
my
guy
opinion.
having a great game. You're absolutely right.
The Bulls are going to win. The Spurs were going to win. The Warriors were going to win. This year, just coincidentally, I think the 1 seeds in the NFL made the Super Bowl. But every year is different. The Giants make runs as an 8-8 team as a wild card.